Hello friends, now we're going to talk about ratios, the value of a ratio, rate, and unit rate. Oh, and ratio tables, I forgot that one. Okay, so ratio is just a comparison of two quantities. That's really it, okay? And then unit rate is like how many miles for 1 gallon of gas, or how many carbs for 1 serving of cookies, something like that. So a ratio, like I said, is a comparison between two quantities. Okay? So if we're comparing quantity A with quantity B, there's 3 ways you can do it. With a colon, that's 2 dots. And we say A to B with the word 2, A to B, or as a fraction, A over B. Okay? And what's listed first is always A. So we will just do these two guys for right now. Okay? So with a colon, we're going to write the ratio of A's to B's. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 A's, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 B's. So the ratio is 4 to 5. As a fraction, that is 4 over 5. Okay. Then let's do A's to all letters. So we already know that there's 4 A's. 2, we'll count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 4 to 16. If I write 4 to 16 as a fraction, I can divide both of those by 4. So it's going to be 1 over 4. Okay, and then there's something called interpreting or finding the value of the ratio. We'll do a darker color. Okay, means to write the ratio of A to B as A over B and reduce. Okay, you must reduce. So if I have 3 to 8, its value is 3 over 8. Okay. Same thing. Here it's 4 over 12. Those are both divisible by 4. So 1 over 3. Here I'm going to have a fun thing called a compound fraction. So 1/5 divided by 2. We're going to rewrite that as side to side, 1/5 divided by 2. Put it as a fraction over 1. Then I'm going to keep the first fraction, switch to multiplication, flip the second fraction. It's just 1/10 now. Okay, so the value of the ratio is just the reduced fraction of the ratio. Okay, in math, things are equivalent if they have the same value. And in this case, equivalent ratios are ratios that describe the same relationship. Okay, so here from 1 to 6 and 3 to 18, if I multiply both sides by 3, 1 times 3 is 3, and 6 times 3 is 18. I'm multiplying by the same thing. Okay, And then if I have 1 to 6 and 3/18, I can reduce the fraction by dividing by 3, and I see that when I reduce the fraction, it produces the same fraction as 1/6. So if I reduce and I see that they're same, that means the ratios are equivalent. Okay. And then here we have a ratio table, which they're going to change by the same, so I'm going to look for a pattern. Okay, so I'm going to start with this first one because it's filled in for me. It doesn't have a blank spot. So I'm going to say, how do I go from 2 to 70 by multiplying or dividing? I don't know, so I'm going to take 70 divided by 2, just 35. So to go from this bottom row to the top row, I'm multiplying by 35. I'm going to do that the same way. From bottom row to top, it's times 35. So to find this square, the number of miles traveled in 8.5 hours, I'm going to take 8.5 times 35. And it's 297.5 miles in 8.5 hours. But if I wanted to go from the top row to the bottom row, I'm just going to do the opposite. I'm going to divide by 35. And 35 divided by 35 is 1. So the ratio of miles traveled to number of hours is 35 miles to 1 hour. And these are all equivalent ratios, because if I reduced them, they would all be 35 miles for 1 hour. Okay, so now let's talk about rate. A rate is a ratio of two quantities using different units. So like we had miles compared to hours before. Okay, and a unit rate compares a quantity to one unit of another quantity. So how many miles in 1 hour? Okay? So if I see here, it's A units to B units, and I bolded 1 because the A units are different than B's units. Okay? Then to find the unit rate, I just take A divided by B. I keep the first unit here, and I keep the second unit over here. Okay? So let's look at this example. You pay $350 for every 1/4 ounce of gold. So our rate is going to be dollars to ounces. Okay? So it's $350 to every 1/4 ounce. That's our rate. Okay? But my unit rate, I need to know how many for just 1 whole ounce. So here on this tape diagram, I have 1/4. For every 1/4, I add $350. Then I have 2/4, I added $350. 3/4, I added $350. 4/4, I added $350. And 4/4 is 1. So when I add all of those together, you get $1,400. Or if we do it like up here, we have 350 to 1/4. I'm going to take 350 divided by 1/4. Then I keep the first fraction. So I keep the first fraction the same, 350 over 1. I switch to multiplication and I flip the second fraction. So that's just 350 times 4, which is still 1,400. Okay, so see how here the units stayed in the same place. I'm just finding how much is it for one of the second unit. Find the unit rate. 360 miles in 6 hours. I want to know how many miles in 1 hour. So I'm going to take 360 divided by 6, my A divided by B, ends up being 60 miles for 1 hour, or 60 miles per hour, if we're going to write it out in words. Okay, 18 bowlers on 6 lanes. We want to know how many bowlers can you put on one lane. So I'm going to take my A unit, 18 bowlers, divided by my B unit, 6 lanes. It's 3 bowlers per lane. Okay, and then our last example is there's 5 grams, we'll say of fat, for every 1/5 of a serving. Okay, so I want to know how many grams of fat for 1 whole serving. So I'm going to take my 5 grams for my first unit, divided by 1/5. This 5 divided by 1/5, but this has a fraction over 1. I keep the first fraction, I switch to multiplication, I flip the second fraction. 5 times 5 is 25. So there's 25 grams of fat per serving. I hope this was helpful, just a refresher on what ratios are and how to find the unit rate. Remember that unit rate is how many of the first thing for one of the second thing. So how many miles for 1 gallon of gas? How many miles can you drive in 1 hour? How many grams of carbs are there in 1 serving of pasta? Something like that. As always, let me know if you have any questions. Have a great day.